oyster mushrooms, Pleurotus species, are very common, very popular all over North America and around the world. In my part of the world, they grow on poplar trees, and so the Latin name is Pleurotus populinum. Other places they're called pulmonarius or just Austria. Now, of course, oysters are becoming very popular because there are blue and yellow and pink varieties of oysters, which high-end restaurants will pay very good dollar for to supply, to put when they put it on their plates of their $90 entrees in a fancy restaurant. People go, whoa. And so a number of people who are growing medicinal mushrooms and edibles in North America organically, they often start with the oysters because that's a good basic income for them, both from the basic oyster mushroom and some of the fancier ones that get a top dollar. They're easy to grow. As I mentioned, you can grow them on everything, any kind of substrate, including newspaper. A lot of people who want to try to grow mushrooms for the very first time will find that they will really respond well to a chipped wood product called, is it Yesterday's News, I think? It's a kitty litter that's made from wood chips. And you just put those in a bag with a little bit of mycelium, put them in a plastic bag, give them a little water, a couple of weeks, boom, boom, boom. And they're great for showing, for demo, for children in school. They actually grow them on coffee grinds. So many people will collect up the old spent coffee grounds from different shops and put them in boxes, myceliate them, send them to schools, and fascinates kids to watch these mushrooms start to myceliate and then pop out of the bag. I wish I had had that when I was in grade 4. That would have got me interested in mushrooms a lot earlier. And then, of course, the discussion on an ecological level with the teacher is how important they are. I didn't know that mushrooms were essential for plant growth until I was in my 30s. So oyster mushrooms have a great deal of edibility benefit that are extremely useful. They have health benefits that are very interesting. They contain a compound called lovastatin, which is identical to one of the statin drugs, but a natural form of lovastatin that naturally helps the liver to work and prevent a rise of blood cholesterol. As we know, statin drugs, there's at least 800 studies out that suggest that statin drugs may not be a good choice of drug for many people, in that there's muscle wasting and there's a number of very, very nasty side effects, and that there's no proof that they actually help people who have not suffered initial heart attack. So the actual number of people taking cholesterol-lowering drugs is based on pretty faulty science, and yet they keep lowering the total cholesterol levels, encouraging doctors to prescribe. If you take 2 meals of oyster mushrooms, 4 ounces twice a week of oyster mushrooms into a stir fry, into a soup, something like that, you'll get all the benefit of blood cholesterol control. The oyster mushrooms also have other great uses. A fellow I met one time at Telluride, he trained oyster mushrooms how to consume and eat cigarette butts. You know how people throw their cigarette butts all over the places if they're not garbage. They are garbage. Mushrooms don't eat like we do. Mushrooms create their own food source by sending enzymes out into their environment, sniffing around, and then they find a food that's potential food product, and they engulf it and they enzymatically ingest it and utilize it. They also lasso things like nematodes or springtails, little microscopic insects in their environment. They literally have shown videos of the mycelium of oyster sending out a little lasso and actually squeezing a little nematode and drawing it in and consuming it. So the oysters are quite smart in terms of how to access their food sources. So this is myceliated oyster on straw. There's a very interesting company. Two students at Cornell met and decided to create a company where they would take myceliated product and produce everything from insulation. For example, IKEA now transports their bottles in myceliated containers that after it's done, you can throw them outside in the forest and they microdegrade into the soil rather than the plastics and polyurethanes that people are using now. Ecovative is the name of the company. They produce ability to myceliate insulation in buildings where they actually fill the entire wall with mycelium, and then they heat it high so it doesn't keep growing, but it fills every little nook and cranny and acts as a superior insulation that's microdegradable. Then it's of course sealed so nothing gets in there. They also are doing interesting, innovative. I saw one of the reps a few years ago, and they're taking hemp and now, because hemp now across North America is now gaining popularity as a very viable agricultural industry to prevent all of the trees and forests being cut down. They take hemp and they put the myceliated mushroom mass in between, and then they squeeze it at high temperature, and they make particle board that can be used for cupboards and flooring and walls. These guys are two brilliant men who came up with this billion-dollar idea, and that's just the start of it. There are no contraindications with oyster mushrooms or side effects. One of the things that is worth noting is that even people who are taking a statin drug can safely consume the oysters for cholesterol benefit.